Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, host of the Love You Even More podcast. I'm an author, performer, producer, and Emmy Award winner. Each week, I bring on inspiring people and experts in their field to have powerful, motivational, and enlightened conversations about relationships, self-development, and how you can love yourself even more. Follow us for daily updates at Love You Even More podcast and at Jackie Brubaker on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. For more on myself and the podcast, including ways that you can love yourself even more, go to loveyouevenmore.com. Welcome, Christine Eartheart, to the Love You Even More podcast. Christine is the founder of the Center for Thriving Relationships, where she, along with her wonderful husband, help create and transform conflict within couples, deepen connection, and create the kind of love that they've always wanted. Combining both the heart and science of relationships, they offer renowned weekend retreats, online courses, and private sessions to clients around the world. They've also developed the Thriving Relationship Coach certification. I don't think I said that right. Certification program where they train others on 50 plus signature and scientifically backed tools and formulas to create powerful, repeatable, and predictable breakthroughs for couples. Christine is the host of the Thriving Relationship Show, a TEDx speaker, and an enthusiastic believer in what's possible in love. She's been featured all over the place. I'm so excited to talk to you today. What an incredible resume. And I love what you're doing to help couples. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
So basically the first thing when I was reading over all of your stuff is that you and your husband really work on couples just being better couples together. But one of the biggest parts of being a great couple is conflict resolution. So I actually would love to just jump into that because, it's so easy to be happy and in love and you're like, woohoo, I'm in this great relationship. And then around, 3, 4, 5 months, it's like, oh, this is fun. And people will end up breaking up because they don't know how to manage conflict resolution. So from the beginning, what is happening to couples when this starts happening?
That's such a good question. And yes, conflict is really inevitable. I'm a very optimistic, positive person. And it's like couples will come into our office and they're newly together and they'll say gosh, communication is just so easy in this relationship. And we just get along so well and we share all the same things. And again, I'm the opposite of cynical. And yet I'm thinking just wait a few months or a few years because It really happens. I've never met a couple on the planet, no matter how long they've been together, how amazing of humans they are that avoid conflict. And so this is a good thing. This is really good news for everyone that conflict, I love the notion that conflict is growth wanting to happen. Mm-hmm. And so it's in our romantic relationship, they're uniquely humbling because there's no place for anything to hide. So all of our unconscious fears come to the surface, any of our unconscious patterns, any of our wounds, any part of us that just ultimately isn't serving us either gets really magnified in the context of partnership. So it's just the most normal thing. And it really is not about how to avoid conflict, but how to really heal and grow through it. So it happens, I think, most of all in our romantic relationships, because here's this other person who impacts us so deeply. Our friends are deeply meaningful and certainly impact us, but not to the extent that a romantic partner does. So it's really the things our partner says or does, or the things they don't say or don't do has great impact. So if our friend said, I'm going to quit my job and just travel the world for a year, we might be like, that's the coolest, do it. And be the first one cheering them on.
Yeah.
And if our partner comes home and they tell us this great news, we probably are going to have some opinions about it because it's going to bring up fears for us. Ultimately, it's things that are really important to us feel threatened. Maybe our sense of safety and security, our sense of connection, of feeling, thought about and understood and seen. So many things feel threatened. And so when we feel threatened, our fear responses kick in. So we go into kind of the fight, flight, freeze, faint responses, which happens a lot in relationships. And it's also in our earliest relationships in life where we tend to experience the greatest pain. And so then it's in our adult relationships that so many of those things come up as well. And so they can either come up and experience kind of deeper wounding, or it can come up where we can really experience incredible healing through conscious relationships. So
absolutely. I think a lot of couples, they're in the early stages and then conflict starts and they're like, oh no, I don't want to lose the honeymoon stage, or I don't want to fight. Like, I'll just stuff it down and not say anything. And then obviously turns into a huge fight or multiple fights or a breakup even, because they're not talking. And like you said, conflict is really important. What about couples who claim, I'm going to say claim because I don't think this is true, but couples who claim they don't fight? What's going on there?
Yeah. So, well, Dr. John Gottman is one of the leading kind of researchers in the world of relationships. And he talks about the optimal ratio of like 20 to 1. So 20 positive interactions to 1, so-called negative interaction. And he was taught, he talks about kind of in his research that when it goes from 20 to 1 to 20 to 0, it actually plummets, because any couple that says they have no conflict, it just means they're not talking about it. And, so innocently, it can be a really scary thing if people never had conflict addressed, growing up or modeled for them in healthy ways. It can bring up a lot. And yes, it's usually that there's, there are unmet needs there are desires there are feelings that aren't just getting communicated about.
Absolutely. So if that's happening, either that or just conflict has arisen. It is here. It needs to be talked about. So many couples are feeling and about themselves. They're thinking about, well, I feel this, and this is my opinion, and this is where I'm coming from, and I'm right. How can we be a little bit more understanding and open to actually listening? In fact, my real question is, how can we be better listeners and validate our partner's words that they have just said to us? Because I believe truly that is one of the biggest problems in conflict, is that two people are yelling or talking or arguing to each other, but no one's really actually hearing anything.
Yeah. Your question's so perceptive. And of course, because you're so knowledgeable about this topic. And so that's it. I think so much conflict occurs because we're not really listening. And that's, I think, the best news ever, in working with couples for so many years. I can't count the number of times a couple would come in and, they would feel like they had kind of reached a they were at standstill?
Standstill. Yeah.
Yes. And they just, they felt like they were just really polarized and they could not come to any sort of agreement around it. And they felt like they were on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And once they just in one session learned to communicate about it in a whole new way, one partner would say like, well, I've never actually heard you talk about it like that before. The other partner's like, I don't feel like you ever heard me until this actual moment. And so then what seemed so far apart, they realized like what they really want is so much closer. So this is the best news, is that so much conflict happens because of how we're talking about it rather than the actual issue itself. And so, that's what happens. If we don't feel heard, we tend to turn up the volume. And so we turn up the volume by using more words, by talking, excessively or loudly, or using harsher language, or by checking out to kind of get our point across. And so when we can really hear one another, it's amazing. It just signals to our nervous system like, oh, you're actually with me in this, because otherwise we feel alone. So again, it's like this kind of primal panic. Like, you're not hearing me. And so I'm going to double down on my thoughts and opinions about this just to get you to hear me. And I'm terrified because I feel like I'm all alone in this. Right. And so then, the argument becomes about the argument itself rather than getting like, we're just reacting to our partner's reactions and never getting, to what it is. And we've all been there. And it's so painful to enter a conversation that is, so important to us. And at the end of the conversation to feel even less understood and even more disconnected.
Well, and a lot of resentment builds from that too, is it's like, oh, I'm saying over and over again what I need, but they're not listening to me. I'm just going to stop talking. And then that's where apathy comes in. And that's ultimately where breakups come up, because you're like, I can't fix this. You don't seem to want to fix it. So I guess it's over. What is a tool that you teach your clients to be better listeners? Like one thing that like changes the game that's very simple that like you could try today with somebody.
Yeah, well, empathy is so enormous. And so we can learn to we consider that almost as like your kind of admission ticket before you share your own heart, is to make sure the other person feels deeply heard. And we all make sense, right? If we're willing to get out of our own heads and passionately curious about what's going on in the world of someone else, like it's going to make sense. And usually once we can understand what's going on, it's like, oh, okay. Like all of our stories around it just fall away. The stories of, I can never be enough for you, or I'm all alone in this, or you don't appreciate me, or you might leave, or all the different stories that we're ultimately reacting to. It's like when we can understand. So I think having empathy, if when our partner shares, we can learn to, even using that word like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. And so reflecting back, I think, that's so powerful. Curiosity is the other one that I love so, so much. Curiosity, appreciation, and empathy are my three favorite ingredients to listening. And so definitely like just letting someone feel deeply heard and validated and recognized, like you were saying, and then really appreciating them. I think so often we're scanning for what's wrong. And so really scanning for all the things like our partner or anyone else, but our partner is like doing well and all of the evidence, of their love and their support, whatever it is, and really actively appreciating them. And then curiosity. So it's kind of the antidote, right, to defensiveness, which is what stands in the way so much. It's like if our reflex is like, yeah, but you, or yeah, you can't do that because, or jumping in with our own perspective. Again, we do this so innocently, it happens so commonly. And it continually just amazes me in my own relationship and watching couples when we can get curious and actually just like, oh, well, tell me even more about that. What is it about that? Asking like possibility filled questions. It's like, it just is so comforting really to both of us. And that's what I love. It's like what the relationship needs to be healthier. Like when it comes to listening or really anything, it's ultimately going to serve us so much too, because it gets us out of our heads and really into what's actually present there.
The curiosity thing is something I've been really playing with a lot in my partnership. And wow, does it make a huge difference? You are suddenly not defensive or accusatory. You're like, if you come from a real genuine place, guys, not like a, not like a curiosity and a like, so I'm wondering why you do this. Not like that, but like a true question of like, hey, I've noticed this and I wanted to know, what is that for you? Or how is that? Like literally, I also do this in my relationship. We started this really early on. I don't even know how this came up, but it just did. And I started it. I was like, can you just be my friend for this moment? Can I just like vent to you like a friend? And he was like, sure. And I did. And it was the most incredible tool to just be like, oh, wow, I feel like I can just talk completely openly, honestly to you instead of being like, you're my partner. And if I say this, you'll think that or blah, blah, blah. And he responds, or, the first time we did it, he responded in this friend-like way. And I was like, wow, that was so eye-opening. So even when you're asking questions or being curious, I mean, I don't know, not everyone, this might not work for everyone, but it certainly does for us. Like if you just say like, hey, can you just be my friend real quick? Can I just talk to you like a friend? It just clicks something and you're able to ask those questions without being defensive.
I love that you do that. And I think it's so powerful to like ask permission before we're to share anything. It just like sets the other person up for success. I love looking at my own and helping couples look at like what our listening filters are. And so if we're listening for how our partner's wrong and we're right, or listening for what there is to judge or for what we're going to say next, totally different. But if we're listening for, oh, how can I be a friend right now? Or whatever it is, like, how can I listen for empathy, listening for getting curious? But I love that. It's like setting our partner up. Like, I just want to be heard. I want you to receive what I'm sharing through that lens of, okay, how can I best support you as a friend right now? So that's so beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, right? Everyone says, I want to marry my best friend. Well, see what you guys are like as best friends, really, like, can you actually be friends? Or is the relationship based more on like a romantic, lusty kind of thing, like long lasting partner? And listen, everybody's to each their own. If you want to have short-term things, it's totally fine. It's fun, but if you are looking for long-term things, I think the friend thing is good. I certainly like playing around with it. Okay. There is something that you guys talk about, and it is the 5 predictable stages of relationship. So I would love to know what that is.
Yeah, so happy to share. So the first stage is the romance stage, which not every couple goes through. So I just want to put that out there. Someone's like, gosh, we had actually had a rocky start. But most couples in those early stages, there's the rush of chemicals and hormones through our system, and we're just seeing our partner's best, and we're giving them our sparkliest best qualities. There's lots of hopefulness. We're just giving and giving without keeping score. So this is so beautiful. I think it's like, that's what allows us to really find partnership. And we saw the entire human when we first met them. We might all go running the other way because we might not, feel like we're equipped to step into that. So this is wonderful. This is the romance stage. And then we enter into the power struggle stage. And that's once we're starting to get a little more comfortable, around each other. And we're realizing that my needs and your needs feel like they're in opposition. So in the romance stage, it's like we can easily just overlook our own needs, in service of our partner's needs, because we're wanting to keep them, right? We're wanting to like show them how we're a really good partner and woo them and all the things. So it makes so much sense. And once we feel like we have a little bit more security, a little more comfort, it's like, well, wait, what about my needs though? What about my feelings? And, we're all so entirely unique, and we all have these beautiful, valid needs. And it takes a lot of communication and a lot of intention to get resourceful enough to find these unique ways where our different needs, our different personalities, our different strengths actually harmonize. And there's a learning curve to that, because every relationship is like its own one-of-a-kind work of art. So even things that worked in a past relationship might not work for our current partner. And so that's the power struggle. So the power struggle stage 2, that can be, whereas romance is like full of hopefulness, this can be like a time of despair. Like, you're not the person, that you said you were, or that I thought you were. Really easy for couples to think like, if it's this much work, surely we're not meant to be. So a lot of couples will end their relationship in the power struggle stage. Again, understandably so. If we think like love is supposed to be easy if we're with the right person, it makes so much sense that you would just see that as an indication. Or couples spend their entire lives in this long, drawn out power struggle, which is not so fun either. So yeah, we don't want to.
When does the power struggle stage occur typically?
Yeah, it's a great question. It kind of depends. It could be a few months in. So it depends like how quickly does a couple start to live together and intertwine their lives where like their needs are bumping up a little bit more. So, so it can be a few months into, it could be a couple years in before it takes, a lot of time. It could be that, oh gosh, now we own a home together and now we have a young child, and like, wow, now we're really in a power struggle in a way that so I would say usually a couple doesn't go much longer than a couple years in though. So it's, a couple years in it at least would start setting in.
Okay.
So that's stage 2. And that's right. Lots of misunderstandings, things like that. Keeping score of who does more, like, well, I'm not going to have sex with you because you didn't unload the dishwasher, or, lots of like those bids. So stage 3 is the commitment stage. So that's when we just make a powerful commitment. We don't need to know the way. We just make a commitment. Like, let's dive in and learn whatever we need to learn right now to get to thriving. And so that stage is so significant. My partner and I, we were a few years in. We've now been together over 20 years. We were on the verge of separating, and we made that commitment. We're like, okay, we've done lots of personal growth, but not a whole lot of work specifically around relationships, which is an entirely unique skill set. So like, hey,
totally,
we don't know what's possible here. And that's what we encourage for couples. If they're like, I don't know if we're a good match. It's like, most couples are only experiencing a tiny fraction of what they're capable of being together. Obviously, everyone has total permission, to graduate beyond the current relationship they're in. And sometimes it can give us a lot of peace of mind to at least feel like, okay, we tapped into what was possible and then made our decision from that place, not from like a place of just our pain and misunderstandings and miscommunication. So the commitment is really powerful. And the 4th stage is the growth stage. That's when we get to like apply and learn all the things that we just don't learn anywhere about how to have like a conscious, thriving relationship. So easy-ish to fall in love, but to actually stay in love and have a relationship where our differences get to harmonize and not be in conflict, that is like a very unique skill set. And then the 5th stage is thriving. So that's really like the best of the romance stage, where we're seeing each other's best, we're cheering each other on, we're giving without keeping score, but we have this like compelling, inspiring vision of what's possible. And we're actually doing deep healing together. And it's not that we just love the sparkly things on the outside. It's like learning to deeply love the whole person. And then we end back up into a power struggle, but the aim is like, how do we spend little time rather than it being, months or years? Maybe it's like 10 minutes. Oh, shucks, we're in a power struggle. Okay, I recommit. Let's like, whatever came up, let's like learn and grow around it and then get back into thriving. So we just want to make the time there shorter and shorter and shorter over the length of a relationship.
Oh, so this can actually be, so I feel like the first round of the 5 stages is like, it could take some time, but once you've like hit thriving, you can actually kind of find this, like this cycle a little bit over again and have shorter periods of it. Of the bad part, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Not the good part.
Because the conflict, whenever we experience conflict, in some ways we could call it kind of a power struggle where it probably feels like our needs are, in opposition to one another. And so it's like we might get back into a power struggle. But now we know, like, okay, we just need to recommit. Or maybe we're feeling disconnected because we haven't been prioritizing our relationships. So we're just picking at each other a little bit or aren't giving each other our best. So it's like, okay, let's recommit. Let's put a date night on our calendar. Let's read this book together. Let's listen to this podcast, whatever it might be. So we can shift back into what's possible. But it's a paradigm shift that we don't see the dead end. A lot of couples that feel like they're at the end are like so close to things being better than ever before.
I agree so much with that. I think because, if there's just a bunch of apathy there and you don't care, then the relationship is really over. But if you are like passionate and actually arguing and like you're still trying, there's a lot of love there. It's just you need to get through the weeds, figure some stuff out. And also relationships are tough. Like they're not for babies. They say it all the time. It's not supposed, I think, maybe I'm wrong. I think that relationships are about learning about other people and like having basically a person attached to you to go through life with. It's not like, oh, just you and just me. And we kind of like do this together. It's like you're with each other always. And it's like, I can't walk unless you walk. We're like almost like, oh my God, one of those like costumes where there's 2 people in them and they have to walk together like that, where it's like, you need to have each other working together instead of individually trying to be in a relationship together. I feel like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is. There's something so profound about expanding our awareness to consider this other person, that like really, it's such a balance, I think, of staying deeply connected to ourselves while deeply bonding to somebody else. Because if we're only focusing on like connection to self and like, I'm only going to do what feels right for me, like there's going to be a lot of insecure attachment, a lot of pain, that's not going to, and we're not going to get to experience actually the freedom that happens when we really lean in and commit. And if we're, only connected to our partner and we lose ourselves, sometimes then people will feel like the only way back to themselves is to fully separate from their partner. So it's, a dance of both those things. We like to say it's like too much space. When we lose our partner, too much closeness, and we can lose ourselves. And what you're saying, it's like I almost see it as like a higher state of consciousness of what does this relationship need from me? And to realize like we are part of this living ecosystem now, like a part of us. And so, and it mirrors, rather than seeing it as a nuisance or as a trap in any way, if we really see our relationship as like our path to awakening, like anything that really this relationship needs from me is going to be fundamental to my own personal growth. And so if we invite it in that way, and really trust that like when I consider this other person and we co-create something together that really honors both of us, it is going to make life so much more wonderful than we could ever do on our own. But it takes like a letting go of just thinking of ourselves to get to experience like that greater love. So yeah, that is so key.
That's so beautiful. That was just, oh, turn me down. I suddenly got so loud. Okay, I'm fine. We're at 34. Okay, good. I was like, why am I hearing myself? Okay, that was so beautiful. You've said 2 things that I definitely want to like address, which is you grow the most as a human. Sure, absolutely. We grow so much as a human by ourselves, and there's a lot of like self-love and self-work that we have to do alone. But it kind of comes to an end, you need someone else to be in relationship with. And that's what you just said, to grow even more, because your relationship will mirror, like you said, and also that person will mirror everything that your anxious attachment or your avoidant attachment is not finished working on. In fact, let's talk about, do you have to be securely attached to be in a relationship, or can you enter a relationship and become securely attached?
Well, I believe absolutely you can enter a relationship and become securely attached. I think it's, in relationships, I find that it's a continual dance of like doing the individual, our own individual healing and growth, and the healing and growth that happens in partnership. If every time, say, a fear comes up, it's like learning how to be with ourselves and being able to bring that vulnerable fear to our partner, and our partner, rather than getting defensive, like, well, why would you question that? I've told you 1,000 times that I love you. If our partner, whatever it is that's coming up, comes as like a voice of like assurance and comfort, like it can just heal all these old voices and messages that we've heard. And it also then deepens this bond with our partner. And then our partner gets to come in and be like, this incredible force of love and healing and support, and gets to completely kind of win. Not that there's winning in relationships, but like they be like, oh my gosh, I succeeded at my partner, feeling good in my presence, and succeeded at knowing like what it takes to light up my partner. So it's amazing. We all have done it, right? But we resist the very thing, like when our partner's given us the keys to like what, to their heart really, and to like what would mean the world to them. And that we resist that sometimes, just like we adorable, silly humans. So I think it's like, those are the moments not to resist and tell our partner, like, you need to work on that on yourself. It's like, oh, let's just get willing and really be the voice of healing in those places that, my belief and experience with all the couples in my own relationship, it's to really know the tender places within one another and to treat those with like the utmost care, realizing the opportunity we have like in this conscious adult partnership to bring the voice, the presence, the awareness, for like whatever we've been longing for our whole lives, to get to be that for one another. Like, that's just the best thing ever. While we're also not putting that on our partner, and participating in it. But to me, it's not unhealthy to also be that for one another, because we are social creatures and we are hardwired for connection. And so much healing and transformation happens in the context of partnership, not just on our own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing feels better than when you go through the conflict, you learn, you become more vulnerable, you listen more, and you really do grow stronger and stronger. I mean, that's, I think, what people are trying to get. Maybe not everyone needs that or wants that, because it's intense. It's not like, again, it's not for babies. Like, if you want to just like have, some shallow relationships, that is so available. But if you are looking for like that long-term real love, like through thick and thin, I actually love marriage, like the original marriage vows. And, whether you end up getting married or not, I feel like when you make a commitment, it really is those simple vows that they've always really spoken to me, it's important. And I loved this conversation. What is one more thing that people really need to know to have a thriving relationship?
One thing that I love that was just such a game changer for Brett and I, so my husband and I, is, what happens a lot of times in the power struggle is that we start to see our differences really highlighted. So in the romance stage, we see some quality in our partner and we're just like, oh, it's so wonderful that they're so laid back. I love that. They're just so chill. And in the power struggle, we're like, oh my gosh, they're lazy or boring or whatever like judgment we put on it. And so Brett and I, when we committed years ago to creating a strengths-based relationship, we just like truly intentionally flipped over every single thing either one of us was perceiving as a weakness or a shortcoming or in conflict with one another. We're like, there is something else on the flip side of that we actually fell in love with that adds so much value to our relationship. And I would never want you not to have that thing. Yeah. And it's like, it really is a two-sided coin. And so that it just changed everything. It's like now whenever I actually see any human and maybe there's like one area where they're not really shining, it's like, oh, but on the reverse side of that, there's like such a precious part of them. And so someone could be like this really dynamic person that we fell in love with. And then maybe over time, it's like, maybe they seem overwhelming. And it's like, oh, I actually love though. They're the one that like comes up with these ideas and ensures that life is fun. And so it's not about overlooking the challenges of that. It's just recognizing. We have couples do like at our retreats, this exercise where we have people write with their non-dominant hand to feel into like what it's like to not be in our strengths. And it's so easy for us to like have the story that if you loved me, if you cared, you would be ... We all have that thing. You would be more organized. You would take more initiative. You would be more thoughtful. You would be more, whatever it might be, a zillion different things, more fun. And just to realize that the things that are easy for us could be really challenging for our partner and vice versa. And to look at like, where do they shine and how do we create as many opportunities as possible that really bring out the best, that like allow them to fully become the full expression of who they are, rather than spending, some couples will really spend a lifetime focusing on their partner's worst and wanting them to be someone they're not, and completely missing out on all the things they already are that they have to offer there. And that is just, yeah, it's so tragic that happens. Brett and I were totally caught there, and it was so painful to not be seen for how we wanted to feel seen. And so now that is like, I just think it allowed our differences to be like, it's the best thing ever that we're different in these ways. And I'm just so in love with our differences, and we really found ways to lead with them. So that's one thing I'm passionate about.
I think that's the most wonderful thing ever. I love flipping it over and looking at how this is so special to them, but also how I can love them more because of it, because I understand them more instead of trying to change them. Because we all try to change each other because we want people to be just like us. And then that's boring. We don't really want that, do we?
Totally.
Oh, so beautiful. So you have couples retreats. First, tell us all about that. And then also tell us about the certification program.
Well, thanks for asking. So our couples retreats, it's a weekend immersion. We bring couples together from all over the world, come in, and I love it so much. There's something so unique about a retreat because especially some couples that maybe they don't want to go to counseling or coaching. We are huge advocates for that. And I get for some people, it can feel awkward or scary, like to share with somebody they've never met, some of their like innermost, most vulnerable parts of their life. Right. And so couples retreats are so great because you get to have all the transformation, but you're really just sharing it with your own partner. And so at our retreats, we'll share it's really the entire roadmap of what we wish every couple on the planet had when it came to how to create a thriving relationship. And so Brett and I will share the research behind it. We'll share the tool. We'll demo it ourselves. We'll have, a couple that wants to volunteer come up. And that's usually one of people's favorite parts because we all see ourselves in each other. Right. And so everyone's cheering the couple on when they have their breakthrough. And then the couple is just doing it between the two of them. And then we have a bunch of coaches around. So we're all here to kind of support couples as they go through it. And then people are sharing, of course, questions and things. And so that's kind of the format. We keep it really fun and bonding. Most couples are starving for just quality time together to really reconnect, to nurture their friendship. Like what you were saying is missing when our friendship is strong, when we're really bonded again. That's also empathy just comes more naturally. We can easily see each other's best intentions and give each other the benefit of the doubt and come up with creative solutions that honor both of us if we're connected. And so, but we go into all sorts of healing from the past and communication and how to love and understand each other, how to finally discover what's actually underneath the things we say and do. So it's kind of the whole roadmap to how to have long-term love that grows deeper and stronger through the years. So we love it. And it's always so neat when a couple, are so generous to be vulnerable enough to demo. So those will be throughout the weekend. And there's just so much knowing laughter and tears because no matter our backgrounds, there's a level of universality of things that we experience in relationships. So it's so bonding and so inspiring to see other couples that are committed to growth. So I think we're just buoyed by that. And we can all grow so much more quickly and in this space of inspiration, or it doesn't feel like work. It feels like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do this. Let's take a stand for, love.
Oh, I love that. That sounds so fun. Where does it take place?
We are doing the next one in Florida, Valentine's weekend, 2024. Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. So we all have time to go sign up. And then tell me about the certification.
Yeah. So Brett and I opened well over a decade now, the Center for Thriving Relationships. And we were together in sessions. So Brett's a licensed psychotherapist. And so we were doing sessions together. And my background is more in energy healing and somatic healing and coaching. And so we brought our different backgrounds. And then that practice just grew. So we were seeing couples individually, each of us. And then our wait list just grew so long. We wanted to keep serving people. So then we ended up training just some local people that didn't have any background in coaching. And they were getting these phenomenal results with couples because I love creating tools and formulas and handouts and all the things. It's just my bliss. Yeah. And so we developed over 50 different methodologies and tools that we were using. And then we trained just in our living room. And then we're oh my gosh, Vika, then they're practice filled here at the center. And so then we decided to turn it into a whole thriving relationship coach certification program. And so we now have a 6-month all virtual program. We have coaches all over doing incredible things, just big-hearted humans who, see like the unnecessary pain that happens in relationships and all the joy and love that's possible, truly for the greater good of all. It's the area of life that usually means more to people than any other area of their life. And yet, like, people with the best of intentions can struggle so immensely. And so, it's really, really fulfilling for people to feel completely empowered and confident to know, like, okay, this issue comes up, I know exactly how to help you. Like in one session, really just find your way through it. So it's amazing. They inspire me every single day.
I love this. All of that will be in the show notes, guys. All the links. Christine, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on. All of your links will be in the show notes, like I just said. So please go reach out to her. I know so many of you guys will. Thank you so much for coming on.
Such a gift to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me and for all the wonderful work you do in the world. And thanks everyone for joining us and just multiplying love in the world.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. Make sure to rate the podcast and leave a review. We really rely on this to help get the podcast out there.